Hello viewers, my name is Diana Tivesigwa. I work with the AIDS Healthcare Foundation as the Regional Policy and Advocacy Manager. We're here to deliberate on our Freedom from Debt campaign. It's a global initiative led by the AIDS Healthcare Foundation globally and implemented across 50 countries. And the basis of the campaign is to create awareness about the growing sovereign debt crisis globally. And it is meant to call upon governments and other stakeholders in ensuring that the sovereign debt does not have an impact on its population. The campaign highlights how debt repayments prevents governments, especially from low developed countries, from addressing or responding to social issues, including health and education. As we speak right now, over 3.4 million people are living in the countries that are prioritizing debt over social sectors like health and education. But also we see that 2 to 10 times interest rates are paid, higher than the countries, that are developed. So that becomes a major concern to us as an organization, and we call that injustice or extraction, because we also continue to see that over 3 trillion USD is expatriated from these same countries. So that alone prevents countries from prioritizing these social sectors. So what comes as priority is debt payment, remittances to these debts, because they have already committed themselves to paying back that debt. Conversation with one of our advocates from the government of Zambia, Honorable Joseph Musanje, and he's here to share with us an interesting experience from Zambia. Zambia is one of those countries that were highly indebted, and as we speak right now, they almost have no external debt. And we would like to learn from Zambia what has been the experience, how the public debt affect the population, how did the political wing or the legislature in Zambia come in to support the process of recovering the country from its debt. So as part of the campaign, AHF is engaging stakeholders across Africa, documenting experiences and practices. One of those countries that have managed to recover their debt. So we would like to hear his experience, his country experience, but also learn, because we would like to use this kind of information to motivate and encourage other countries to take on the same approach in responding to their external debt. So you're welcome, Honorable.
Thank you so much, Diana.
You can also introduce yourself so that the viewers get to know about you and who you are, the country you're coming from, and so that we can start from there.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm Honorable Dr. Joseph S. Musanje, a Member of Parliament. Currently, I'm the outgoing chairperson for Health, Community Development and Social Services Portfolio Committee of Parliament of the Republic of Zambia.
Thank you so much, Honorable Joseph. We'll start here. Looking back, how would you want to describe Zambia's debt journey?
I must say it's been a very tough journey, but also one that has brought in a lot of lessons globally to the financial architecture around the world. Because as at 2021, when my government came into office, we had a debt of $13 billion, which was constricting development or any works in the country. Our government worked around to restructure that debt, and so about almost 7 billion of that debt has been fully restructured, which means it will kick off maybe after 12 years or more, allowing our country to grow the resources and then be able to generate the income to be able to pay off that debt.
Sure.
And the remaining debt, because that debt was in 2 categories, there was the bilateral debt with government to government,
yes,
and then there was the other one with the multilaterals and related agencies,
yes,
which included the Euro bonds,
yes,
which is the individual bond holders in Europe,
yeah,
who had given us some money, and that was the most expensive debt because it was being borrowed around 50% repayment. And so what our government has had to do is restructure both.
Yes.
And agree on similar terms with both the bilaterals and the multilaterals and other rated bond holders. And then the latest development which Zambia has done is to do a debt buyback, especially for the Euro bond, the bond holders. So we have spent $1.36 billion, yes, to buy back that debt. And what that means is that we save ourselves from future debt spikes and other payments and other developments. And we now, that money is in our coffers. We are now able to use it for other development needs, including our electricity needs and many other needs. And so that has freed the country.
Yeah.
So debt buyback is a new mechanism which has not been used on the world stage, and Zambia has utilized it. So we are the first country, first of all, to do this huge restructuring, and now we are again breaking the financial market by doing a debt buyback, and we are freeing ourselves from all these future debt repayments for that debt with the Eurobond holders. And as a result, we have this money now to redirect to our other needs, especially the electricity and many other development needs that Zambia needs to this money for.
Yeah, no, very interesting. This is my first time to hear about the debt buyback, and Zambia is one of those countries that are bringing it out right now. So, Honorable Musanje, the debt buyback, what were some of the toughest decisions that government had to make for you to decide on having a debt buyback, and how was the process?
First of all, we needed to generate our own resources in terms of reserves. So Zambia now has about $6.5 billion reserves, which is the highest ever in the history of the country. And you remember, by the time the previous regime was going out, it was actually negative. We no longer had any reserves. So now we have built these reserves, and the part of it was to decide to use some of these reserves in that direction. And also with the support from the African Development Bank, we had to get a concessional loan of $600 million, which is far cheaper.
Yes.
Yeah, with very good terms, almost near zero interest rates.
Yes.
And, to do that. And so we get this very cheap loan,
yes,
and we take it to pay this very expensive, to buy this very expensive debt.
Yes.
And we quash that debt, and our country becomes free.
Okay, so you mentioned also about concessional loans. Is it something that you're encouraging other countries, other highly indebted countries to take on?
Yeah.
Because we continue speaking about concessional loans, but not everyone appreciates concessional loans. Is that something that you think most countries should adopt?
Yes, the rate at which you borrow matters a lot, and the terms, of course, of the borrowing. We borrowed this Eurobond under the PF regime, 2011, 2012. These were, you borrow $1 million, and that $1 million you're supposed to pay back $2 million on it, and you've got a bullet payment which you're going to do, where you need to go and pay this whole million,
yes, and
then the other $1 million you got to be paying it every month, yes, and the like. So that was very constricting on the country. No wonder the country in 2021 and 2020 and 2021, yes, failed to pay the bullet payments which, yes, were supposed to be paid. We defaulted. We failed as a country, and it is because of the type of loan we got, those Eurobonds.
Yes.
But now with the concessional loans, we are able to negotiate with the bilaterals, because these are other governments, and we are also able to agree on a better lending rates.
Yes.
Instead of 50% payback, you get a 3% payback. You get a 0.2% payback, and you get 12 years to say you pay this after 12 years.
Yes.
So those are better lending terms, because then what you want is imagine even yourself, you have opened your business, and you need the time to grow your business.
That's true.
So you need the time. So Zambia has time now to grow its capacity. We are generating electricity, which we are going to export to everybody. We are improving our agriculture, which we are going to export our maize to the whole region.
Yes.
We are growing our copper, mining services, and we are going to reach 3 million metric tons, and we're going to export more. So by the time the payback comes, our capacity is far enhanced, and we are generating far too much finances, which are allowing us to be able to spend on debt repayments and other things, including trickling down to our people.
Yeah.
Whereas if you are getting these Eurobonds, which were constricting, they wanted you to pay immediately. You needed to start paying immediately, and you needed to pay that bullet payment, which is a huge thing. The bullet payment was almost impossible, and that's why Zambia failed to pay it. So now we are on the right track.
Yeah, and we really want to congratulate Zambia as one of those countries that are demonstrating the ability to shed off their external debt payment. But we also want to learn what made it possible, because it's seemingly to be hard, like for other countries to take such a decision. So was it political leadership? Was it sound economic reforms, or cooperation with creditors, or something else? What was the magic bullet? What was the game changer?
I think all those factors you have mentioned are part and parcel, but key is leadership. Everything rests on leadership. So the political will of President Hakainde Hichilema to support the finance minister and the entire cabinet and government to say, let's take this route. You know, the president worked, for example, the first 3 years of the UPND government, the president rarely stayed at home. He was ever traveling to France, traveling to China, traveling to USA, yes, to negotiate with all these bondholders and those countries which were, you know, until the restructuring was achieved. And the restructuring was not easy, because you set the terms this side, the other group says, no, 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 us also, we want also to have this type of terms. And so he kept on cooperating and ensuring that this was sorted until he managed to sort out with the finance minister. And then he attracting new investments,
yes,
you know, which, you know, he's the #1 marketer of the country, and he did that extremely well. And after doing that, identifying the new opportunities. And so identifying the new opportunities, remember he spoke at one of these global meetings where he talked about the financial architecture that it needs to be revised. Him and President Ruto of Kenya talked about the need to you know, change the financial architecture so that the African countries can have their say and can do the things that support our governments. And this is one of the things, what we have done is one of the things that support our governments to be able to come out clean and do something that serves our people better.
Sure.
And so it has to rest on the political will, exactly, and the understanding, you know, as well as the financial reforms,
yes,
you know, the debt reforms, and being able to also, you know, get the mandate of the people, yes, of Zambia to say, this is where we are going, and it's not just tightening belts, yes, but it's going to be rewarding. So reforms with a human face. And that's one of the success stories of this, because we've been able to do things like social cash transfer, paying for babies under 2 years, being given something in the country, the entire country.
Yes.
Pregnant mothers being given an allowance to do that. School feeding programs, infrastructure in the schools, desks, and all that kind of thing.